Under podcast. Today I've got a special guest in, Dohn Thornton, who is known throughout the industry as the short sale guy. He's been in the industry for around 20 years. So we've got him in today to talk about short sales, to educate us about short sales, and basically bust any myths that people have got misconceptions about short sales. So welcome, Dohn. I really appreciate you coming on. And I'll just start with, I'll get you to introduce yourself. And what I'll get you to do is just tell us a bit about your background, how you got into it, and then how you've got to this point to where we are today.
Well, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Like you said, my name's Dohn Thornton. My shtick, my brand is Dohn the Short Sale Guy. Just because I was a weirdo in the sense that when I got into real estate investing, I got into it specifically for short sales. Most people nowadays, they want to get into wholesaling or maybe subject to, but for me, I wasn't interested in that at all. In fact, I never really did it that much in my entire career. The reason is because the idea that you can take an asset, well, it's not even an asset, it's a liability, a house where the homeowner owes more than what the property is worth. There's no value to most real estate investors, right? So the idea that you could take this and just with your skill in negotiations, create a $20, $30, $40, $50,000 spread, and make money on it. It was just like, it was mind blowing to me that this was the most brilliant way to invest that I had ever heard of. And to this day, I still think it's the best investment you can do. So that's what got me involved in real estate investing. Now, it took me a while. You don't learn this thing overnight. In fact, it took me like 2 years before I got my first deal. But when I did, it went big. So I love short sales, but that's how I got into it. So,
and when you got into it, like you said, you learned the ropes, and that one of the things is there's not very many people that do it, is there? And there's not very many people that do it well. So
no, they don't.
Yeah, so
there's a lot of hacks out. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a niche market, and that's what I find. I interview a lot of people on the podcast that have actually carved out a niche market and actually become an expert in that niche market. And that's what you've done and been able to do for 20 years. Now, the big question is, Dohn, is for the layman's like myself, everyone sort of, has heard about a short sale. They believe they sort of understand it. But can you go through sort of the in a nutshell, from start to finish, of how a short sale actually looks from when you get it to when you finish up?
Absolutely. Well, the first thing people understand, sometimes people think that a short sale means a foreclosure, and actually it doesn't. In fact, we have done short sales on properties that are not in foreclosure. All that matters is that the homeowner owes more than what the property is worth, and that a short sale negotiation has to be done with the bank to allow the property to be sold at the as-is price, and any mortgage amount that is unpaid at closing will be written off and forgiven by the bank. So that is the only thing about a short sale that really matters. Whether the homeowner is distressed or not is immaterial. It has to be upside down. That's what people need to understand, because they think, oh, well, it's not in foreclosure. Doesn't matter. Okay. But the bank has, it's their game, their rules. And over the last 20 years, I've seen them make it much more complicated than it used to be. When I got started, my gosh, I was a one-man show and I did everything. Of course, I was working 16 hours a day, but I acquired the properties. I negotiated them myself. I mean, I did have a real estate agent, because you have to have an agent listing the property. But for the most part, I just did everything myself, and it was great. Nowadays, I have a team, because you can't do it on your own anymore like you used to. But fundamentally speaking, a short sale is where the bank and the buyer negotiate to see what the as-is value is. Now, their agenda is to get it as high as possible, because they want to limit their loss, because they're going to be writing off tens and thousands of dollars worth of money they lent to this homeowner. My agenda as a buyer is I want to get it as low as possible. I want to create equity, because that's my profit. So, they tend to want to come in high. I want to come in low, but I also understand that these banks aren't stupid, and they're not going to just give away the store, that they used to, but not anymore. So nowadays you have to be very smart, but it's all about that one key component is what is the as is value according to the bank. And my job as an investor, my team's job as the negotiators is to convince the bank and whoever owns the mortgage, because it's not, the servicing company is the one that sends the bills, but somewhere a pension fund, a hedge fund, maybe Fannie or Freddie owns it, maybe another bank. It doesn't matter. Whoever owns it's the one that signs off on it. But that negotiator who works for the servicing company, that's the one you got to get on your side. And we've done very well at that. But everything else, I mean, I try to tell people, a monkey could do the actual short sale process in and of itself. I mean, it's very simple. You list the property with a real estate agent. A real estate agent finds a buyer. They take a contract with the buyer. The contract acceptance triggers the bank to do an appraisal of the property. They will come back and say, we determined this is the amount of money that we want to settle. This is the price. And then whatever you do, at some point, the bank is going to say, this is our number. And then if the buyer agrees, that's fine. They submit for approval. The bank issues a short sale approval letter that contains the terms for the homeowner, who the buyer is, how long until it has to close, with whether there's going to be any mortgage amount paid off or not, a deficiency judgment, is there any tax implication. That's all done in the approval letter, and then within 30 days you close. It's just a transaction like that. That is what a short sale process is. Anybody can do that, really, if you think about it. But the issue is the value, and that's, to use a cliche, that's where you separate the men from the boys when it comes to if you can do a short sale or not. What usually happens, and this is why so many real estate agents hate them, and investors run away, in fright because they don't want to be involved with them. The problem is that when the bank comes back high, and they always come back high on their first appraisal, they don't know how to do a value dispute. They don't know how to get them off that number and down. And so realtors, they get that initial high offer, and they throw it out there at the bank's price, and it sits and it sits and it sits, and they get a contract in for $20,000, and they don't back it up. And it sits and it sits, and then it goes to foreclosure auction. They've had it listed for 9 months. They've dealt with the homeowner and trying to get their financials. They dealt with buyers, agents, and so forth. They say, I don't want to do this anymore. Short sales are terrible. I don't want to work, because they don't know how to do them. That's the problem. And so we figured it out. And listen, I would say in the last 3 years, we've had to change our MO three or four times because change something we had. And that's what we do.
And so to do them, you'd have to be a good negotiator, and you've got to understand the whole negotiating process. That would be important. It's not, like you say, for the faint-hearted. You've got to actually be a good negotiator, and you've got to have a bit of tenacity. Yeah. So
you have to really say right. And this, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just sort of, from what I got from that, Don, that you've got to be a good negotiator, and it's not for the faint-hearted, and you've got to stick at it. You've got to understand that, that process, that they're going to come in high. You've got to try and get them down. So it's not just I'll throw out an offer, and if they don't accept it, that's it. You've got to stick at it, and you've got to understand the negotiation process.
Right. I mean, you have to understand that it's not just a matter of throwing low comps back at them and then maybe a few estimates, that somehow you're going to get $50,000 discount if you throw some estimates at them and some low comps. It doesn't work that way. It's much more complicated, but I would say that's probably the average idea in most investors' minds is that, okay, if I send some contractor estimates, then we're good. It's like, no, it's not good. That was good 18 years ago, 15 years ago. Yeah, you could do that. It's not like that. And that's the biggest frustration I have with investors and other realtors, because I do actively try to set up referral sources and have people refer us to our company. And they say, oh, well, I used to do short sales during the Great Recession. And I'll go back to that. If I have to, I'll go back to that. It's like, good, because it ain't like it was back then. It's totally different. But, they're stuck in what they had their experience. I think nothing changes, right? Well, it changes. It's one of the most dynamic niches I've ever been in my life, because it changes all the time. And it's like, it's like you're in a kayak in a fast boat, and you're constantly having to make changes, and because you don't want to hit that boulder. Well, it's the same way in short sales, but you just can't sit there and say, well, I kayaked once about 20 years ago, and I'll just jump in and I'll go ahead. And meanwhile, the river has completely changed its direction in the meantime. What you think was a safe route is no longer safe, dangerous. That's an analogy I come up with, because it's they will change their guidelines, they will change what they're taking, what they're not taking all the time. You have to be nimble and turn on a dime and figure stuff out. That's why I love it so much, because it's so challenging, because you're yourself against this other person, this other entity, right? And they're trying to stop you from making money. Okay. And you're trying to win. And it's it's the ultimate game, I guess, if you want to call it that, because that's what makes it so much fun, So anyway, for me.
And like, people getting into it along your journey, what do you see as their biggest mistake that they make? I mean, you just stand back from a distance and go, or
I honestly, I would say is that if I was a newer investor, I wouldn't even try. And I don't mean that because I fear competition, which I don't. I'm just being compassionate and telling you it's much harder than you think. And here's what I don't like, and this is what I'm starting to see with, especially in the wholesaler area, is I'm in a lot of Facebook groups for investors, and I saw this one wholesaler talking about how, oh yeah, I'm doing my first short sale, and I'm gonna do this, and yeah, I got my estimates ready to go, and I got my comps, so this should be easy. And I'm thinking to myself, what about the homeowner? You've convinced this homeowner that you know what you're doing, and you're going to keep this person out of foreclosure. If you fail, you are condemning that homeowner to 7 years minimum of not being able to qualify for a conventional mortgage. And it's a horrible damage to your credit to have a foreclosure auction on your record. But they're treating it like they treat like a whole, like even with the wholesale game, where you convince a homeowner to take a contract at X amount of money, and you want to come in you want to find a buyer that at a higher amount. Well, I have issues with that business model anyway, because I don't think you're not fully disclosing what you're doing, number one. But let's just put that aside for right now. It's even more serious in a foreclosure situation, because you get one shot usually at a short sale. And if you're just playing around and you don't know what you're doing, I mean, literally, they could sue you. The the homeowner could sue you. So you better be careful, about trying to all of a sudden say, I'm going to try short sales now. You're playing with people's lives. So I would say you're much smarter to do a joint venture with someone like myself, my company that knows how to do them. And that way you don't have to sit there and you could possibly ruin people's financial lives because you're trying to learn on the fly.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to ask you, because my Facebook groups, about networking, about collaborating, and about JVing. So with something that is as complex as this, as in you need to have experience. You like you said, it's very serious. I was going to ask you,
Mm-hmm.
do you coach people on this? Do you JV with people on this? Do you have a system in place that people can bring
Yes.
short sales to
Yes.
you? I mean, what's the setup there?
Yes. Uh, I would say that the biggest difference that differentiates me from the few people in the industry that do short sales is you're never going to see me trying to sell a course. Okay. Because I think it's somewhat borderline dishonest to try to sell a course, because that course is not going to no matter. I'll be honest with you. I did a course. I put a course together. a couple years ago when the pandemic hit and they shut the foreclosures down. And I was like, okay, now what do I do? Maybe I'll do a course or whatever. And I wrote it. It's a big, long, honking course, videos, the whole 9 yards. And it's like, you know what? I don't feel comfortable selling this because it's not. It doesn't. If I sell this to you, you're not going to go out there and be successful at it because there's just so many nuances to it that I can't teach that. Okay. But there are people out there that will charge you $7,500 or $10,000 or whatever. They're going to charge you for a short sale course, and it will give you what I just described earlier, the monkey part of it, the monkey thing, where you can just shuffle paper from here to here. But it's not going to teach you how to get deep discounts that you need to be as an investor to make money, to be able to flip or be able to turn. So I felt like that wasn't something that I wanted to do. So my direction is different. I say, look, I don't want to teach you anything. I'm not going to teach you anything. I also don't charge you for anything, but you can come on my team and you can get access to all of my training and most importantly, get access to me. You get access to, I do two Zoom trainings a week, and we talk about this and we talk about scripts and we talk about how to deal with homeowners and so forth. I believe that the best business model out there is to lift people up, help them become better investors, help them find distressed sellers, how to be able to talk to them, how to get them to say yes, and then bring them to me for my short sale team, and we will go ahead and we'll do what we do best, our highest and best use, and then we sign a joint venture agreement, and then we divvy up at closing. That's the best model, I believe. And for wholesalers, it's perfect because, or any other investors for that matter, subject to investors, you're cutting yourself off from a huge income stream by ignoring the upside down homeowners. So now when you come upon those, you have a second income stream. You have a way to monetize that where you don't right now. And instead of trying to sit there and break your head trying to figure out how to do short sales and jeopardize what happens to the homeowner, like I said, it's just simple. Now you bring them to us and we'll do that, and we'll joint venture, and we'll teach you how to brand yourself as a short sale expert online. And that way you can become a magnet for referrals and just move them over to us. And then we can do it. And that way you're basically creating even a third income stream now that way. So that's what I would do. That's what I'm offering.
And from a service point of view too, like if you're going out there and you're trying to be a career investor, you've got different strategies. You've got wholesaling, subject to creative finance and all that. Like you said, if you're coming from the approach that you're trying to solve people's problems, you're trying to help them out of a situation. The missing pieces are probably having a realtor that you can refer to, and probably a short sales, because like you said, most people would get on PropStream and look at the equity. What equity have we got? Oh, it's got a minus, and they just freak out and run away from it. So what you're saying is bring it across to me, make someone that does short sales a part of your team, so that you've got an extra, you've got sort of 6 gears here. You can change gears depending on what the property's telling you that it needs. And it's pretty obvious that if it's got the zero, it's got the minus and it's underwater, that you need someone like yourself that's a short sales specialist. And like you said, it opens a whole dimension, doesn't it? It means that you can offer people, when you're talking to them, another outlet rather than just saying, "Oh, no, I can't help you, see ya." And it just adds to your credibility. So, that's a really good point. Like you said, to me, it just sounds very complex that if you're going to start from scratch now, it's going to take you a lot of years of trial and error. And then the biggest loser would be the homeowner that goes into foreclosure and you let them down. And that's not a good business model, is it? It's not a good business model to make commitments to people.
You better have concrete disclosures and legal documents to protect yourself. Even then they might help you in case that homeowner wants to sue. So you got to be really careful about that.
And another thing, Don, this is your business. You've been doing it for years, but you've got a YouTube channel. I'll actually pop it up on the screen. I've got it here on the screen. So you've got a YouTube channel. So you've obviously got a lot of videos and you've got a bit of a library there. Are there other topics in there, like there's short sales? Is there other topics? Because obviously it will lead into other areas as well.
My earlier videos are a little bit more what's the word I'm looking for, diverse. But I'll be honest with you, I really believe that short sales are coming back big time in in 2022. So I use my YouTube channel not only to attract followers right now. I'm looking to be a resource for, like I said, real estate agents, for other investors, and for homeowners. And so I know that you have social media like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. YouTube is different because it's a search engine. Okay. And so I spent a couple 3 hours a few weeks ago just researching keywords having to do with short sales. And I came up with 336 different keywords on YouTube that are searched for quite often, but have to do with short sale, different topics within the short sale niche. And so I decided, because I want to position myself now as the leading person, I want to dominate those keywords. I'm going to focus the next 6 months on putting a video for every single keyword. So my YouTube strategy right now is much more nichey in the sense that it's just short sales. But my earlier stuff is much, I talk about different strategies and so forth, but because that's the biggest priority right now, is to be ready for the people starting to come and looking for information on short sales, homeowners, and so on and so forth. I want to be ready. So that's why I started doing this, 2 months ago. And oh, by the way, everybody that comes on my team, I teach you exactly how to do it as well. So that way our team can dominate the YouTube field. And I also give you a podcast for free that the same thing. So you can put all of this content out there, and that way people will find you and see you. And that's what's brilliant about the way we can merge technology, where one video I make becomes a YouTube video, that the audio becomes my podcast, the transcript becomes my blog, right? And I put my YouTube link on my vlog. Now one video has, I've created 4 different types of content, and now I just have to chop them up into pieces, and I can put them on YouTube. I'm just not YouTube, but Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, all that kind of stuff. And then you're building your brand that way, and you're just using one original piece of content for 7-8 minutes.
Yeah, so, like you said, you've got the podcast as well, and like you said, your blogs and everything. So someone like me, a layman that goes, I'd like to add that to my tool belt so that I can help people out. I can offer that service, because people are in a lot of pain at that point and they need help. And you sort of go, I don't want to just leave them in the lurch. So you could either refer them across to you. You could jump on. I mean, your probably advice for someone like me would probably be jump on, familiarize yourself with your content, understand how it all works, and then come and reach out, and don't just let those leads go in the rubbish bin. Come and bring them to me and work with me, and I can sort of teach a little bit more along the way as well. So, and even I'm not sure, have you got a referral system too, where people can just bring you leads? They go, look, I don't really want to get involved, but I'd like to bring you the leads so that you help the person, and we can sort of cross-pollinate, like I'm bringing you stuff, and if you've got something that you can't work with, you bring across to me. So you've got that sort of system in place as well. And,
you'll be a better investor if you learn how to brand yourself. But if you just want to have a second income stream, not a problem. Just give us all you have to do is determine 2 things with a homeowner. Are they upside down, and do they want to sell? And that's the only thing you have to figure out. And at that point in time, all you have to do is say, let me get my partner Dohn on the phone. He's an expert in short sales, been doing it for 20 years. I'll have him go over everything with you about how this works and so forth. I will literally myself, I will get on the phone with them, and I will close them, and we'll get them in the pipeline. And then you and I will sign a joint venture agreement. If that's all you want to do, you just want to have a second income stream, send as many as you want. We'll handle it.
Yeah. And that's very similar to like, we'll talk, say, from a wholesaler's point of view, they've got, when something is a creative finance deal, they've got a go-to person. Now they can have a short sale person. They can, they might have a realtor that they just said, look, this is an on-market deal. I'll refer it across to my realtor. So you're starting to build a really good team. You've got a bit of a power team that you can just not offer a cash offer and throw it in the bin if it doesn't work. You can actually work with other people. So this is where the industry is heading now, isn't it? A lot more collaboration than there used to be. And to have that mindset to be actually out there to help the person that's in the distress, that's the industry you're in, distress sellers. So, yeah, no, it sounds really good. And what's the best way for people to reach you? Is it to go via, is there a best way to connect with you?
You know what? Just every platform, it's all Dohn the short sale guy. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Just reach out to me. I'm there. I'm all over the place. And leave me a comment. If you watch any of my videos, if you go down to the description, you're going to see a website or investors. So just click on it and reach out to me. Send me a message and we can talk. Absolutely.
Yeah, I did notice when I looked online, you're on Twitter, you're on everything. So you're probably one of the most contactable guys. I noticed that you're on sort of all the social media stuff. Plus you got the YouTube, plus you got the podcast. So it'd be, I'd advise people to reach out to you because, I spoke to you earlier and I said that I know people that are thinking of this. They want to have someone that does short sales because the way the market's heading now, there's going to be a huge influx of short sales coming in. So if they can connect with you, you're helping the homeowner who's in trouble. You're working with someone that's been in the business for 20 years, and you're strengthening the tool belt in your business. So it's just a bit of a no-brainer, I guess, is to actually, to have every avenue covered. So if a lead comes in, and you don't specialise in it, you can sort of partner up and collaborate with someone that's an expert in the field like yourself. So no, that's
I refer out a bunch of subject to deals that I don't want, and I have a go-to person for that. That person gets all my subject twos that really don't have any interest for me, but buy and hold people want them, so I take it. He gives me a little bit of money, and I'm happy. And it's the same principle, right? Because I don't want to specialize in subject to deals. I'll do some if it works for me, but 70% of the time I just refer them out. And that's what this is. We want to be your go-to company to refer your short sales to, people who are upside down.
And I quite often talk about, with COVID, the thing that changed when COVID hit was things blew up virtually all around the country. People are starting to go out of their own market and they're starting to go virtually. Are you set up? Are you looking to go across, the whole country? Are you doing deals all over the place now?
Well, it's interesting because before COVID hit, I was ready to launch in New Jersey. I was going to expand my business from Florida to New Jersey, and then the wall came down. They the moratorium for foreclosures. But one thing I just want to say before I answer that question is that I hear a lot of people say that, well, this market's too hot and, the short sales aren't going to be there. I would remind everybody that in February of 2020, that was the last month we had before the moratorium, and the market was still very, very good at that time. Personally, my company in Florida alone took in 24 short sales in a month. And that was in a hot market, right? So don't think that, if the market's good, you're not going to find short sales. They're there. It's just people don't look for them very often, but they're always there. And if you just ask the question, do you owe more than what the house is worth, or do you have equity? If you just add that little script to your repertoire, you will open up so many more leads and an income source for yourself when they come back and say, no, I don't have any income. I don't have any equity. And then you can say, oh, wow. Yeah. But it's going back to the online thing. Yes, we expanded into New Jersey this month. We already got our first short sale. We're excited about that. We're signing that person up this weekend, and we are now downloading all of the foreclosure filings in New Jersey. We are doing the same thing now in South Carolina. In the next 3 months, we are going to be doing this in, let's say, South Carolina, New Jersey, Connecticut, Delaware, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Illinois. Basically, if it's a judicial state where the foreclosures go through the courts, we're going to be there. And so we are doing this all virtually. So why not, right? I mean, if it's there, take it.
And that's where I guess where the whole collaboration comes in. If people are on
Yes.
the ground in the market, you can work with them in any market across the
Mm-hmm.
US. So that,
Yes.
that's probably a recommendation. If people want to add this to their business and they're in a market, reach out to you and say, listen, I'd love to work with you in this market and do something
Mm-hmm.
together and JV or do something together. So yeah, you're starting to expand and obviously like there's been a lot of talk about, the foreclosures and it's sort of been kicked along a bit, but you know, you'd see what's happening from the inside. We're pretty close to it getting to a point where it can't be kicked down the road anymore. So it's sort of D-Day, isn't it? Coming into 2022,
Yep.
For short sales, for foreclosures and all that sort of stuff, it's sort of here. They can't sort of delay it any longer. So now's the time to probably act, isn't it? If you're going to look at getting into this sort of stuff, you need to do it now.
Yeah, you need to get educated. You need to, like I said, I mean, if you want to come work on my team, we can educate you and get you ready to go, so you know what to say when you find those types of people who are in that situation. If not, if you just come upon them in your normal scope of business, that's fine too. But the challenge I have with people having misconceptions about how this works is they think that short sales are only when the market crashed, like in 2008. But I'll remind you that I'm on my second boom. Okay, I got this gray beard here. I didn't have any gray when I first started, but I started short sales when the market here in Florida was red hot. I mean, it was really hot. I was still doing short sales,
Mm.
you know, and then the crash happened and I made millions doing short sales, and then the market started, getting better and better. And then the last few years, it's been hot again. I'm still doing short sales, still making money on them. They're always going to be there. Think about this. How many people buy with FHA, USDA, or VA, which are nearly 100% financing? Two of them are 100% financing. Okay. So, and when you have people who have been purchasing property, the over list price and so forth, you know, life continues to happen here, right? People lose their jobs, people get divorced, people get sick, you know, life happens. Those people are always going to be there. That is a huge section of homeowners in this country that don't have any equity. And when life happens, they have to sell. And they can only do that with a short sale. So reorient yourself a little bit differently and look at this market from a holistic point of view. I think that sometimes wholesalers in general, they get too focused on the high equity, and you can make a really nice living even if you just joint venture with me, just on think about that huge chunk of market that's not being serviced, and now you can.
Yeah, you make a great point. Like super hot market, but there's still a demand out there for short sales, even in one of the
Yeah.
hottest markets, in decades, and also because COVID hit. So there was a lot of people, even though the market's hot, they lost their job. They couldn't work. They couldn't do this. So
Yep.
then the debt they couldn't pay their mortgages. And so it's a unique situation, isn't it? So, like you said, even in a super hot market, life happens to you. So there's always going to be these
Yep.
around. And I do know that I've spoke to people that are in creative finance and they've boomed in the hot market as well. A lot of people say, oh, you can't do it in a hot market. You've got to wait till the market goes. But very similar. They say exactly the same thing as you're saying is business as usual. I've done really well. So that's a
Hmm.
misconception. Isn't it? That's a misconception that you can't do
Yep.
these things in a hot market. Well, that's not true. Life happens to people in any market, and COVID was an unexpected phenomena that come. And I think a lot of people would probably end up, facing foreclosure because of that circumstance. So, yeah, that's a great point for people to remember that you know, don't follow misconceptions. Talk to the people that are in the trenches and find out the truth. So,
Hmm.
I just before we wrap it up, I just wanted to ask you, like, can you give us like a typical scenario of, say, a deal that you've done? Like, you've probably got one that you remember. I mean, you've probably got a great one, and you've probably got one that went side. Have you got any, maybe one in the middle, just to illustrate to people how the process you had to go through, and if there was a hiccup with the
Well,
bank?
I'll tell you one. I'll tell you one that was one of the most challenging we had was in Sarasota. We closed it I don't know, about 3 or 4 months ago. This one took us almost a year, and the reason why is because the homeowner got a homeowner's assistance. What's the word I'm looking for? Down payment assistance through the county. Okay, and so we got the bank to agree. It was a Fannie Mae mortgage, but Fannie, in general, the first lien holder will offer $6,000 or 10% of the second's balance, whichever is less. And since they're in first lien position, they control everything. But this county, they said no, we want $40,000, and it's like, you're going to go up against the federal government, mate. I don't think that's going to happen here. It's not going to happen. And so we went back and forth with them, and they're bureaucrats, they're local bureaucrats and everything. We basically had to set up a campaign to people to start contacting these local officials in the council to tell them that because they're being so intransigent and stupid, that this poor family is going to be thrown out on the street and with nothing, because they were going to get down payment, they were going to get a relocation incentive from the home from Fannie at closing, and it took us 3 months, but letter campaigns and all this stuff, and we finally got them to budge. They felt like, what, this is bad PR for us, so we're gonna go ahead, and they made an exception for us or whatever. And there was such like, we did it, and it was so much fun because we had to come up with a creative solution, right? Because if we had just said, okay, we're done, that's it, we tried, I'm sorry, Mr. Homeowner, we couldn't help you, but we said, no, we're going to fight this thing. There's got to be a way to do it. And then we realized, okay, what are politicians most afraid of? Bad press. And so we talked about how we're going to start putting, we're going to be talking to journalists. We're going to be talking to TV, all this stuff. Do you really want this? It's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be everywhere. And they said, you know what, maybe we'll just go ahead and change our policy for this one time. Right. So, but it took us a year, but we got it done. And,
Wow,
it was
that's
a
an amazing story.
nice deal.
Yeah.
But that's why 20 years later, I still love short sales, because you're always finding challenges that you have to overcome. Keeps you young. It also makes you gray because of all the stress, but it's fun. I really love that about it. But yes, we got it to work, and the homeowners were able to have a softer landing by helping them get money to move, and to get put money down for a rental. And that's who we were fighting for. That's what I was saying before. If you're want to try to do short sales on your own, do you think you could have done that? Your homeowner would have been on the street with nothing. Let us do that hard work, because that's what we're good at. And then everybody wins. It's a win-win for everybody. It's not just about you trying to make money. We're going to be holistic here and help our client, because they're our clients.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. What was the reaction from the homeowner? Like, that you did that, went through all that for them? Were they just amazed?
They said, we can't believe you did it. She says, we figured, we tried to talk to the county ourselves, and they basically were rude and told us to pound sand. We were just deadbeats, And he says, it was amazing what you did. They just kept going on and on and on about it, So yeah, it was a miracle for them.
Yeah, that's when you need an expert on your side, isn't it? You can't just not know what you're doing and doing that. I mean, you've gone above and beyond, and like, basically put pressure on the councillor. So that's amazing. I've had a situation where I had to deal with the council, and I had to hire someone to speak to them. I mean, that's how hard it is. So you've actually, that would have been, like you said, that would have been like a campaign, wouldn't it? You would have been fighting a campaign against, that's next level. Now, obviously, not all of them are like that, but what you're saying is, you'll take the easy ones, but you're prepared to do the hard work on the hard ones, because that's your business, is getting people out of these situations, and you're committed to that. So that's a great story. I appreciate you sharing that with us. And as a homeowner, I'd just be, you'd be on my Christmas list for the rest of my life. You'd be getting a Christmas card for the rest of my life for getting me out of that.
Right.
That's another thing.
That video is on my YouTube channel, by the way.
Yeah.
For Insanity in Sarasota. That's the name of the video in my YouTube
Awesome.
channel.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go and check it out, and I advise everyone to go and check that out, because that's one of the. I mean, those stories are fantastic when you hear that in real estate, that somebody goes above and beyond to really serve the client, and that's the human side of it, isn't it? I know a few other people that have got people out of foreclosure and done that, and it's just an amazing story, because like we say, it is good to get the easy ones, but sometimes you got to dig deep, and you've got to go through, like you said, that took 12 months. That's a big commitment. So, and once again, I mean, it just builds credibility with your business. You're known as the guy that will make it happen, and you won't give up. So that, that will build. And like you said, if anyone sees that video, they're going to say, right, if I need something done, I'm going to go and see Don. So that's good advice for people getting into the business, is have that integrity and really work for your clients, really work hard for them. So no, thanks for sharing that.
And by the way, just as a postscript, that was a referral from a beginner investor. That was his first deal he ever got done, and he got paid on. And he says, I can't believe he did it, And that really, now that changed his whole life. Now he believes, and now he's working, and he's got his stuff going, and he's out there hustling, and he says that was a life-changing experience for me. He says, what you did for me it changed my life. Now I know I can do this. So there's that aspect of it as well.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. That's good. Yeah. All right. Well, what I'll do is I really appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man. You've got a lot of short sales to get out there and get done. And, I think when I spoke to you a couple of weeks ago, you're on the road. So you work hard. It's not all rainbows and unicorns for you. You actually get out there in the trenches and you work hard. So I'll let you go. Yeah. Really appreciate you coming in and just, just dispelling a few myths about short sales, and actually pointing out to people, you're available. Make you a part of their business. Make you Don's the go-to guy when it comes to short sales. So utilize him. So, all right, beautiful. I appreciate it, Don, and
thank you.
I appreciate your time, and keep going out there doing the good work. And I'm going to check that video out. And thanks to having Don on. We've people have been thunderstruck. They've had a few gold nuggets drop there. So I wish you the best heading into 2022. And I'm sure you'll be out there doing good work. So I advise people to, if you're interested in this, reach out to Don, check his content out, educate yourself, and then maybe try and see if you can team up with him in a market somewhere across the US next year. All right.
Thank you very much. I look forward to. I'll work with anybody. Just bring it to me, and we can make money.
All right, great. No worries. Well, we'll sign off, Don, and we'll say goodbye to everyone. And well done. Appreciate it.
Thank you.